All right, Katie, thank you. $2.7 million. That is the expected budget shortfall the city of Tulsa is trying to navigate during this pandemic. Tulsa, listed by the Brookings Institute as one of the country's most financially vulnerable cities. 2 Works For You investigator Aaron Conrad digs into the impact on Tulsans and ways state lawmakers are hoping to fix the problem.
Parks shuttered and pools closed due to coronavirus concerns. Meanwhile, city offices dark on Friday afternoons. All these closures, the direct impact of the pandemic. The city of Tulsa bracing for a nearly $3 million budget shortfall as local sales tax revenue plummets.
I mean, cities are essentially on their own from the perspective of state and even federal government. So our revenues are really primarily that sales tax.
Oklahoma is currently the only state where cities rely mostly on sales tax. That revenue going directly into the city of Tulsa general fund.
So that general fund, though, is 2/3 of it is supported by sales taxes. So it is especially vulnerable to ups and downs in the economy, and that is really the only source we have to pay for things like police and fire services, the basic services of the city.
In fact, at the start of the pandemic, the Brookings Institute listed Tulsa as one of the top 10 most financially vulnerable cities in the country due to the coronavirus outbreak.
One is that our revenues are based on these very elastic sort of vulnerable sources like sales tax, and two, we have industries that have been hugely impacted. So oil and gas and aerospace are really the two that come to mind there.
To save money in the general fund, Mayor Bynum furloughing 1,000 city employees for 17 days from now until December. His own salary included in those cuts. The city also implementing a hiring freeze and travel ban for employees. However, city leaders making it a point to protect crucial services that pull from the general fund, like police, fire, and emergency medical services.
That's where we really want to diversify even more, and we're looking at the opportunity of creating like public safety districts as an example, where we'd be able to use some property tax revenue to fund basic police and fire services.
That idea isn't new. In fact, city leaders and state legislators have been talking about it for years, especially after the Great Recession of 2008. District 66 State Representative J.D. Nolan is the author of House Bill 1992. That bill would have given cities the option to vote on public safety protection districts, which would pull funding from a less volatile property tax.
And so what this would do is provide additional funding that would be more stable to provide those services to our community.
That bill didn't make it through the state legislature this session due to the pandemic. But Representative Nolan says she's optimistic the conversation of how we financially structure cities here in Oklahoma is far from over.
That is correct. And for a very important service like public safety. And so for us, I mean, it's really important to try to work on stabilizing how we provide those services. I do think that it will strengthen and it will also provide better stability for our state, our whole state. And I will say this, we did have a meeting with Mayor Bynum before we started session, the Tulsa legislative team, if you will. Mm-hmm. And he did say that this was their number one piece of legislation that they wanted to try to move through, because I know that he's very concerned about having better stability and how our cities are funded, specifically the city of Tulsa.
Representative Nolan hopes a bill like this is considered in the next legislative session. As for the city of Tulsa, the chief financial officer tells me they've managed the shortfall with a limited impact to citizens. The good news, trash, sewer, and water is all funded by utility fees, so it's not impacted by the general fund. And the Tulsa City County Library operates through a trust, so its services won't be impacted either. Aaron Conrad, 2 Works For You.